Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be breaking down our next matchup for UFC Houston. In this one, we have Serghei Spivac taking on Ante Delija. This is a matchup that's essentially control versus heavyweight power and athleticism. Because at heavyweight, the margins are thin. One mistake can end everything, but stylistically, this fight has a very clear tension. Can Spivak impose grappling control, or can Delia keep it standing long enough to make his power matter? Now, looking at our two athletes. For Ante Delija, he's currently 26-7 as a professional, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Now in the UFC specifically, he's 1-1. Made his debut last September against Marcin Tybura in a rematch where Delia ran him over pretty quickly. Then in November, he took on Waldo Cortez Acosta in a weird fight where Ante Delija looked like he had Waldo hurt and actually had him out of there via TKO. But then it was revealed he kind of poked him in the eye like mid-punch. So Waldo had a chance to recover. Then once the fight resumed, KO'd Ante Delija pretty badly too. So now, like I said, 1-1 at the UFC. But Ante Delija, I think, is still a pretty good heavyweight, relatively smaller or in size, only walking around the 230s range. I mean, literally his last fight, he weighed in at 237. So one of the smaller but one of the smaller heavyweights, but very explosive, very fast, and very powerful. Now, looking at Serghei Spivac, currently 17-6 as a professional, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. In his latest fight, he had submitted Derek Lewis exactly 3 years ago, lost to Serghei Spivac, where granted he did get fouled a lot, but was just clearly outskilled by Serghei Spivac striking. His most recent win was a rematch against Marcin Tybura about a year and a half ago, where he submitted him via armbar. Since then, lost to Jailton Almeida at UFC 311 and via TKO, and then in his most recent fight at UFC 316, lost a competitive decision to Waldo Cortez Acosta. In a fight where both of them kind of showed pretty good evolution in their secondary game. For Waldo, it was his defensive wrestling. For Spivac, it was his striking. So in this case, you have two heavyweights, both coming off a pretty bad loss, or actually more just really a loss. Both of them to Waldo Cortez Acosta, who is in the top 5. And now we get to see who will right the ship first, as I like to say. So without further ado, let's get down to the breakdown. Starting with Serghei Spivac. Spivac is one of the more committed grapplers in the heavyweight division. His identity is very clear. He wants takedowns, top control, and positional dominance. He's not a flashy striker. He's a serviceable striker, mostly throwing punching combinations, because a lot of Spivac's footwork, honestly, looks like he has 2 left feet. He's not very mobile with his footwork. So for Spivac, a lot of it, he wants to fight on the mat. Now, technically, Spivac's wrestling is built around more timing than explosive shots. Now, he can shoot singles and doubles, but a lot of Spivac comes to closing the distance behind punches, clinch against the fence, and then from there, work trips, body lock takedowns, and mat returns. There's a lot more sambo than traditional American-style wrestling. Then, once on top, Spivac's very heavy. He advances position methodically, hunts submissions patiently, and also very good at hitting ground and pound. I think of that 3-fight win streak he was on, where he TKO'd Greg Hardy, Augustus Sakai, and then submitted Derek Lewis. Specifically, like the Sakai fight, you saw where Spivac was able to work his ground and pound. It is absolutely vicious, very thudding power with those short range strikes, very good elbows, and then if need to, he has good holds. He's very good at the underhook specifically, very good at getting his arms underneath his opponents, grabbing them by tricep, and then from there just throwing them every which way he wants. That's a lot of Spivac's control. So the pro side is Spivac's style is obvious. If he gets you down and settles, he can completely neutralize you. And against heavyweights who more or less don't have good get-up ability, that really matters. Shoot, he was actually able to out-grapple Jailton Almeida in certain moments, even took him down first. So when it comes to grappling, Spivac is very talented. The problem is his striking is just so limited. On the feet, he's very hittable. He's very stiff in exchanges. And like I said, kind of moves like he has two left feet. So on the ground, he's awesome. On the feet, not so much. Now, looking at Ante Delija, he's a very powerful, athletic heavyweight, far more comfortable in open exchanges. On the feet, Delija, he throws with good intent. His boxing is tighter than most people give him credit for, I think. And he carries heavyweight power in both hands. Technically speaking, Delia's striking is built around straight shots and forward pressure. He doesn't overcomplicate things. He steps in, throws hard, and forces opponents to deal with his physicality. So he's got power, explosiveness, and finishing ability. We've seen it. And if he lands clean, he can shut the lights off. The cons, however, is that Delia's defensive grappling has historically been a question mark. Against strong wrestlers, he has been forced backwards, and if he's stuck on the bottom, he's not the type of heavyweight who thrives there, or I don't even think has good get-up abilities per se, especially someone of Serghei Spivac's caliber. So, just looking at the stylistic clash, Spivac's entire win conditions depend on takedowns. If he can get Delija down early and often, he can control the fight. But Delija is, while maybe a small heavyweight, like I say, he doesn't weigh that much, but he actually weighs roughly the same amount as Serghei Spivac, because Serghei, now in his last fight, he weighed in at 251, but historically, Spivac's been around the 230s to 240 range, same as Delija. And that matters because Delija, while like I said, maybe a small heavyweight, he's strong, he's durable, and most importantly, he's explosive enough to make level changes dangerous. As like I said, Spivac's entries, they're not subtle. He often has to close distance directly. That means he's stepping into punching range. And that's where the fight gets interesting. Because Delija doesn't need extended exchanges. He just needs a few moments to catch Spivac coming in. If Spivac shoots from too far away or telegraphs a body lock without setting it up cleanly, Delija's right hand becomes a major threat, as heavyweights don't get many chances to make mistakes against power punchers. And Delija is a power puncher who works with Tom Aspinall, so you know his hand speed is pretty good as well. At least, for what it's shown in his fight, I think it does. Another factor is physicality in the clinch. Spivac relies on clinch control to initiate his grappling, but Delija is physically strong enough to resist being bullied there. And if Delija can pummel for underhooks and disengage instead of being dragged down, the fight resets to where he wants. And every reset, I would think, favored Delija, especially when you think about the pace, right? Spivac's style can be very energy consuming. Wrestling at heavyweight takes a lot out of you. If Delija defends early takedowns and first forces Spivac to work repeatedly, that gas tank is going to become a factor. On the other hand, Delija's explosiveness early is dangerous for Spivac, whose striking defense, like I said, is not very good. So if this stays standing for any prolonged period of time, it's going to clearly favor Delija. Now, Spivac is not the more technical striker. He's not faster. He's not more dynamic. He relies on the threat of the grappling to close distance safely. But if Delija takedown defense holds up even moderately well, Spivac is forced into a striking fight he doesn't want. And at heavyweight, that's a dangerous place to be. So the big question here is this. Can Spivac consistently ground Delija? If the answer is yes, Spivac wins. If the answer is no, even partially, Delija's power becomes the deciding factor. Plus, like I said, given Delija's size, athleticism, and ability to punish entries, I see more opportunities for him to capitalize on Spivac's forward pressure than the other way around. So, for Spivac's path is a lot narrower, but a clear path. For Delija's path is more violent and shorter. But at heavyweight, I think that matters more. So when it comes time to make the call, I'm siding with the more explosive striker and the fighter who can end the fight in a single exchange. My official prediction, I'm going to go with Ante Delija, and I'm going to pick him via knockout in this fight. It's heavyweight. Ante Delija has good power, good fast hands, and I think he's likely to catch Spivac during a takedown entry or any of the prolonged striking exchanges is. So, once again, for my official prediction, I'm going to pick Ante Delija, and I'm going to pick him via knockout. But with that being said, that's been my prediction of this, that's been my breakdown of this matchup. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below on who you think's going to win. But until then, I've been Bo from Brutal Commentary. I thank you all for listening. And remember, stay calm, stay respectful, and enjoy the violence. I'll see y'all next time.